Okay, we're here with Dad, aka Pastor Fort. It's his 60th birthday Sunday, which is super exciting. How are you feeling about turning 60? Any new groans, pains, wrinkles?
Well, I feel good.
Good.
I feel good. I feel good.
Period.
My daughter, period.
Yeah. I think we should.
Exclamation mark.
Did he just say?
Yeah. yeah, I feel good.
I think we should open though with just as a little something that's funny. Why, Dad, do we always say allegedly when we say you're allegedly turning 60?
Oh, because there's different years on my birth certificate. Yeah. So Kennedy knows that. I don't know if anyone else here knows that. Amory knows that. So on my birth certificate, I'm the last of 11. So your aunt and I are the last of 11. When I say your aunt and I, I'm talking about us as twins. And so one of the questions is, now this will be funny to some of you, won't be funny to others, is that my mother and my father from the South. And so we were born in County Hospital. And a joke or a consideration is that when we were born again, they didn't give much attention to the detail in that room, and so that's why we have 2 years on there. That's why we have 2 years on there.
Yes. And there was another year that came out a couple years ago. So really there's 3 birthdays for my dad, which
Yeah,
is pretty insane. So he could be 60. What's the one of the birth certificate?
I think it goes down one each year, 59, 58.
Yeah, so we
something
really
like
don't
that.
know how old he is, but
Yeah.
it's just a little joke that we have. But we really wanted to, my dad's been wanting us to interview him for a while now. Or not interview him, but you've wanted us to go on the stage for a while now with you. And we've kind of declined every time to do it, but we thought it would be cool to do it for your birthday, even though it's not exactly what you've been asking us to do, but we thought it would be nice to do it for your birthday. But we just wanted to talk about kind of like the different facets of you as a man, a pastor, a mentor, father, son, friend, brother, all the things. So we want to open up with your life growing up. So I'm going to do rapid fire with you first.
Okay.
So, Spider-Man or Superman? If you don't know, my dad loves comics. So Spider-Man or Superman? Rapid fire, Dad.
Spider-Man.
Okay. Prince or Michael Jackson?
Woo! I can't do that rapid. I got to think about that. I'm gonna say Prince.
Really?
Prince. I'm gonna say Prince. I was gonna say Michael immediately, but in terms of musicianship, Michael didn't play any instruments. So Prince played everything, plus sang, plus wrote, plus produced. Right. But Michael, hardcore Mike fan.
If you know my dad, that's so
Hardcore.
shocking that he just said Prince, because if you came over to our house growing up, he would literally hold you hostage showing you Michael Jackson music videos. Yeah. So that's really shocking that he just
for hours.
Yeah, literally for hours. Okay, San Jose or San Francisco?
San Jose.
Raisin Bran or cornflakes?
Cornflakes.
Wow, really? I'm surprised you said that. Okay. If you don't know, my dad makes bomb peach cobbler from his mom, but he also knows how to make lemon meringue pie. Yeah. So lemon meringue or peach cobbler?
Peach cobbler.
Period. Okay. And then, so tell us about growing up in San Jose. You grew up in the 60s in San Jose. So tell us what that was like, growing up with all those siblings. You're one of 11. Yeah. What was that like?
That was really cool. So in the house, there was never a dull moment. So myself, 10 siblings, none of us were in the house at the same time. You all know what I mean when I say that. And so it was always activity. It was always action. It was busy. My mother was just the best. I don't know how she managed it. My mom and my dad. My dad, of course, worked 3 jobs. My mother eventually, after there was a stint when my mom was a housekeeper at some hotels, and then she got a job as a teacher's aide where I went to school, and that was phenomenal. And so we got a chance to see, her every day there. It was a great neighborhood. Everybody knew everybody, and everybody knew, sisters and brothers and all of that. It was really a cool experience.
Okay, so what was your favorite part about coming from a big family, though? I know you said there was never a dull moment in the house, but what is your favorite part about, because I only have two sisters,
Yeah.
and sometimes I do wish, just hearing some of your stories, that I
Yeah.
had more siblings. And then I remember that I love being the youngest, so I
Yeah.
don't want that actually. But what's your favorite part about coming from such a big family? That's rare.
You know, I mean, there was a lot of love there. It was a lot of activity. I was always the quiet one and always like disappeared, And so it was just enough stuff going on. And when you're the youngest, well, let me speak for me. So when I'm the youngest, I kind of learned how to just not add to the other activity. So it was good. The other chaos. Yeah, chaos. But it was good, Ken. It was good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so you have now grown
Mm-hmm.
into becoming a mentor to so many.
Mm-hmm.
So who would you say, or what would you say, was your mentor or mentors to where it has impacted you to be able to be this facet for everyone else
Wow.
that you now mentor?
And that's a great question. I have a number of mentors. In no particular order, I'll say Fred Campbell. So Pastor Fred Campbell out of Redwood City, Mount Zion Baptist Church. The church that I grew up in, St. Paul Baptist Church, came out of Mount Zion Baptist Church before I was born. So I would say Pastor Fred Campbell. Another mentor of mine is the Reverend Dr. Emil M. Thomas, Emil McConan Thomas. I love him. He is one of the people that I would strive to be like. He's crazy intelligent. He's just smart as the day is long. He's suave. He's Jamaican, although he has lived the majority of his life here. Our church knows him because he's preached here 1.2 million times. So I would say Emil Thomas. I would say there are a number of distant people that have really influenced me. One is A. Lewis Patterson Jr., Dr. Albert Lewis Patterson Jr., pastor of the Mount Cornwall Baptist Church in Houston, Texas. And when it comes to preaching, the list, yes, time would fail for us. The list goes, on and on and on. Dr. E.B. Hill, Edward Victor Hill, the first, pastor of Mount Zion Baptist Church in Los Angeles, California, who's now in heaven with the Lord. The Reverend Dr. E.K. Bailey, pastor of the Concord Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas, now with the Lord. I love the preaching of Jasper Williams Jr. I love the preaching of so many others, Marcus Cosby. The list goes on and on and on. Rick Warren is one of my favorite preachers of all time. So those people are kind of mentors that have helped me in a number of ways. And I'm forgetting or not mentioning a million of them now. But those people come to mind immediately right now.
Okay, very nice. So, as the pastor side of you, so far, what has been your favorite place to visit, and where would you like to actually visit next?
On the planet?
On the planet, yeah.
Okay.
Space. So, like,
yeah.
and it doesn't have to be like, Disney World when you're 5 or anything
Okay.
like that. So, like, what has been your most impactful, like, visit?
Okay, gotcha.
And,
okay.
like, really it shaped you as a pastor.
Okay.
And then in the future, like, where do you see possibly the next, like, this is where I need to go to experience this?
Well, I think of now the Reverend Dr. Joe C. Gregory. So I got the opportunity, as you girls know, some years ago to go to London, England, and got a chance to study at Oxford with Joe Gregory, and that was phenomenal. Got some credentials from that. He's getting ready to go again now to Rome in August, and I really want to go. So if there's anyone out there that wants to contribute to Pastor Ford going to Rome in August, I'll let you know, and you can make a contribution. Jamaica. Been to Jamaica maybe 4 times with Emil, and that was always a mission trip. And so Emil Thomas's mother started Jamaica Outreach Mission. She's a native there, and she's in heaven with the Lord now. So Jamaica has always been wonderful. Our church adopted that. Emil came to me and asked me if our church would adopt that mission trip, and then we carried it on for some years. We're not doing it anymore. We've been on a cruise when you were younger, and so you know how you make those different ports of call. So that was kind of cool. But I really want to go to Paris. I really want to go to Africa, and not for a mission trip. I want to go and see Africa because it's the motherland. And it's really, we kind of talk about stuff like that. It's the motherland to all creation. People can say what they want to say. This is an aside. But it's beautiful. But let me just say this, though, to that, too. So Israel is Africa. You go back to the 1855, it's too much. 1855 maps and all that. The continent of Africa is where the Garden of Eden is. The continent of Africa is where Jerusalem really was located before the Suez Canal and some other things. I want to go to Africa. I've never been there. Long answer. Sorry about that. Yeah.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to segue into, okay, so as some of you all know, and you said it earlier today, so yesterday there was a funeral here, a wedding, reorganization, like all kinds of things that you had to get done. And like, I went and picked Kenny up, and we didn't get there, and you were like, I'm exhausted, and it was like, get your rest, yada, yada, yada. And so, I'm big on mental health and big on like peace. So because you have all of those things on your plate, how do you really like stay sober-minded? And then what are your best practices for maintaining that kind of level-headedness that you have when it comes to all of this?
Great question. And from you, it's kind of your field. Very much your field, professionally and, in other ways. Can I just be honest with all of y'all? I really don't keep it together. That's the honest truth. I really don't keep it together. I know that yesterday I had really 3 events. I got in about 9 something in the evening, and I got here about 5:25 yesterday morning. And so I made a stop back home to change. One of my big challenges that I want to get out of AM, so thank you for this question, is I live a ridiculously imbalanced life. That's confession. A ridiculously imbalanced life. It is in no way healthy, as you know. I won't even talk about an event that we had together when you guys came over to the house. I won't even talk about that.
Did an intervention.
Yeah, but stop it right there, though. Let's not talk about that on camera. But that is real talk for me. So, I'm still working on it. I'm getting ready to do a series on mental health, and I announced it the other week to some people in the back, to the Bible study group, to a Tuesday night Bible study group. And so I need to do that. And I'm doing it in part for myself, church. And so balance is real crucial, so I'm working on it.
Good answer.
Yeah, that was a good answer, Dan. So one sector I think you've been always more private about, along with family, has been your friendships, I think. And I think for a reason, I think so much of your life is just out there on display and in public. So I think you've been very sacred and mindful about keeping your friendships near and close to you. And I think even to a certain extent separate from the church in terms of making sure that you do have friends that aren't just pastors, ministers, but you have friends that are just, hey, not to say normal guys, but just in that way. So what does friendship mean to you as a pastor? Because I think, pastoring, as we've had conversations with you about it, can be a very daunting and at times I think lonely and isolating, career path. So how has your friendships, Uncle Herb, Uncle Paul, how have they impacted you to lead a life that's, balanced?
That's a great question, daughter. The first person that came to mind was and is Herbert. So our church knows Herbert and his wife Carla. And Carla, if you see this, love and peace to you. Herbert passed just a few months ago. So for me, I have no words to talk about it. And if I talk about it now, I'll probably start crying, so don't ask me that question again. So I'll just say Herbert was a major loss for me. And that sounds selfish because Herbert has a wife and 2 sons, Herbert Jr., Joseph, Joseph, you know, and all of that. And, of course, Carla. You know, I just talked to her the other day, too. She said hello. And so that was my closest and my best friend in my lifetime. Let me see. I do try to be intentional with having some friends outside of ministry, but honestly, just keeping it $150, my daughter, Herbert was really my closest and best, and maybe one of my only friends not in clergy. Yeah, not in clergy. You know, so I have a number of pastor friends and a few that are ridiculously close. And so the way that we communicate most of the time is in our exclusive pastor's text line. And so, you know, I just try to manage that like that. And then people move and people adjust. And I mean move by a lot. I mean move across the country. And so that affects some things. But I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, that was really good. I was trying to be mindful.
And Paul, let me just say, Paul
and
is.
Uncle Paul, yeah.
Paul is the bomb.
Yeah. I try to be mindful in asking that question because I know that Uncle Herb, you know, I could choke up too thinking about him right now. But I do want to say, though, that's really another lesson that I've learned from you and Mommy, really, is how you've balanced your friendships in your life. You and Uncle Herb did not talk every day. You guys could go months without talking, honestly, and you guys remain so close. So that's really inspiring, too, and I think can just be a testament to people that friendship, you know, looks differently. It's not a monolith. But, and I'm like that with my friends. Praise God. I don't talk to them every day. So we're going to go into ask you some questions about fatherhood. Cam, take it away.
So as being the OG girl dad, what's the best part for you?
Man.
Brag on us.
No, I'm serious. I mean, you know, all jokes aside, I love it. And I don't know why that is. I think God created me to be a father of girls. For real. You know, and I mean, it's just amazing to me. I'm fascinated with girls. I was surrounded my whole life by girls coming up. And I have 2 brothers, but I you know, the girls were at home more with me. I love it. I just love it. I love your sensitivity. You know, I love your complexity. You know, and I love the insight because I've learned so much from you guys. I've learned so much, and I'm still learning, you know, about girls and about life. And the other thing I'll say that I really love is I love the different perspective because I'm a guy. So when I hear you guys say what you say, sometimes I'll tilt my head to the side and I have to think about it. And I say, okay, got it. So I just learned loving that, you know, and learn to love that and learn to love you deeper and differently.
So I saw this, you know, I'm always into like TED Talks and things like that, growing intellectually. And so I saw this like snippet talking about how like our years, childhood to 30, it's our hardest working years, that we're just always focused, like trying to obtain goals. And 30 to 60 are such defining years for us. So we work so hard to get to 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. So now that you've hit 60, what would be something that, one, you would, from 30 to 60, that you would have done differently? Just 1 or 2, nothing crazy. And then what would be encouraging words for those who are in that season underneath you? Like, because I'm 35, and 30 to 35 has been such a like mind-blowing experience for me already. And so looking forward to knowing that 30 to 60 is very impactful for us. What would be encouraging that? So like something you would have done different, and then what you would encourage us to do.
Balance and bucks. Money, bucks. And managing, balance. I would totally manage my life differently. I'm talk about time. Because I was doing what I say I do now, I was doing then, in terms of imbalance. And not always. I mean, I'm not saying I was a bad dad, anything like that. I wasn't. Okay, never mind. So I would manage. I would say, your time with Amir, your time with your time like that, getting away, taking your girls' vacations, and girls' trips. That's so major. It's so major, and I would commit to it annually. I have gone 15 years without a vacation. I've gone, and like in stints like that, which is really ridiculous. And when I say vacation, I mean like vacation. I don't mean a mission trip. People say, oh, Pastor, before you went to Jamaica, I ain't never been in the North Shore. I've never seen the beaches over there. We were on mission trips. So that's a whole nother thing. So I would do that. I would balance my time, manage my time better. And when I say bucks, get that thing set up so you can retire at 50 financially. That's what I mean when I say money. And I mean, put it away, invest it. We need to have another conversation about that kind of a thing. So y'all can be on the chill. When you hit 50, 55, you're working for who? Nobody. Yeah. You're working for yourself. And your money is making money. And you don't have to do any of that. So those are the two that really, really, really come to mind. And I think I know you do a better job than me, with balance. But you kind of got that little Jamaican spirit too. You be working 12 jobs and got, other side hustles. So I would say that. I would say management, and that. Yeah.
You're right. And it's so funny, like just when I heard that, I really thought about that because we're so focused, like, because all we know is school for so long and the order that our parents set for us to live. And then we go out on our own and we kind of try to figure ourselves out. And it's like almost like you really, like the clock starts at 30 of like where are you going to really make a difference in your life? And then when you get to 60, it's like, did you do it? So that's really good.
And let me just say, you don't have to have a lot of money to make money. It's just the right investments. And here's the other thing. You don't want to be, and I know you're not, and Ken, I know you're not. You don't want to be money driven. You just get the plan. And it's small things over time, and you'll be a millionaire in, a few years, and you can just do your thing. So, yeah, do your thing. And I know now your life revolves around Amir, Yeah, you and Kyle and all that. And Amir he's the best. I mean, seriously. And I don't even say that as biased. I am biased, but I don't know a child like him. I don't know. I mean, he is a brain. Yes. He is literally smart as a whip. He's in everything excelling academically. He's athletic. He's into martial arts. I don't know. I almost said I don't know where he came from, but, I mean, he's at a whole nother level. So, yeah, I would say those two things.
Those are really good. As he plays loudly on the front row.
It's really been a morning today, y'all.
Yeah. But so we want to close out talking about the son, and who you are as a son in Christ and a son to Juanita and John. So I think one of the greatest, another good lesson that I think I've witnessed from you that hasn't been verbal, I think, is your evolution as a son in Christ. I think growing up, you would do, I'm going to say it's crazy because it's a little crazy, but you used to, you couldn't walk out the house without kissing your Bible. If you didn't read your Bible, you were erratic in the morning, or just freak out or feel guilty. And I think we've really watched, I think more so privately really than the church has, but I think we've really watched your relationship with Christ go from legality to love. So can you talk about how you Can you talk about how you transition that? Because I think a lot of people, especially in today's age of New Age, religion, and stuff like that, I think a lot of people, especially in our generation, Amory and I's, are lost because they feel like they have to have a legal, very rigid relationship with the Lord. But I think as you've grown in Christ, you've learned that you don't have to perform because you're already his. You know what I mean, in a sense? So how did you learn that?
Yeah, Ken, that's really good. Yeah, I used to do crazy stuff. I used to, and not only would I kiss the Bible, I had to kiss it so many times. I used to go down the hallway and have a thought, and then I would stop in the hallway and get on my knees and pray. I've been in the car with you and with Kiera when you were younger, driving down the street, church. And I would have a thought, and I would stop in the lane, get out of the car, walk to the front, on the street, Eileen Reyes, pray, get back at the, people are honking at me.
Crazy.
I get back in the car and drive. Now, I say that to you to say I was driven by legalism. And so legalism can be lethal, meaning it can kill you. And I don't mean emotionally or spiritually only. I mean physically, biologically, you could no longer be here. And so I was locked up by legalism. It was almost lethal. And in other ways, it saved me. That's the crazy part. Because I could do a switch, Eileen, education. I could do a switch in my brain, and I could just the same way be committed to something else that was, I'm going to change my diet. Okay, it was a thought. I'm going to do this with exercise. And I didn't really wrestle with it. And so later, I found and I discovered, of course, balance. What I call biblical balance and holy harmony. That's what I call it. Biblical balance and holy harmony. Because I was living in a world of legalism, and God said, Sherman, you heard of this thing called grace and mercy? The Old Testament is the law. And so, I almost want to ask you guys questions, because you guys have seen me do some stuff. And again, we will never talk about the house, but you guys have seen me do some stuff. And I think, I don't know. So, yeah, I'm just glad to be out of that now, living more balanced, because the other thing it does is it ages you. It messes with your mind. Your mind is my mind was always going, always thinking about this and that. And the one thing I wanted to do was be, of course, an excellent son, to your question, brother, uncle, husband, father. And so I was driven by all of those things, and I was kind of crazy with you guys, I never let Kennedy or Kiera go on a field trip without me. I would drive them in the car behind the bus.
You really did. It was embarrassing.
It's true. I would do other things with them. It was just kind of, crazy stuff that I did. So, people were like, what? I was like, what to you? This is my children. They're your children. You do what you want to do. And I would just do that. I would do that. I thank God, again, I look at Miss Eileen, and you and Kiera were in Miss Eileen's school. Eileen for, I don't know how long, from birth up. Forever. And she had her own private Christian school. When they started going to public school, I, as their father, I made time to take them to school every morning and pick them up every day. So I did that. And Angie would be like, they take the bus. No, they can't take the bus. They're not taking the bus. And so I probably messed y'all up in some ways like that. But, yeah, so that's all part of my legalism, but now I'm freer from that.
I'll say, though, that even though you did, I didn't understand it growing up, we were just talking about last night, I'll say it super quick, but when you took me on a field trip, my dad was like the field trip dad. My mom wasn't. She was like, I don't want to be with all those kids. And my dad was kind of the one to do it, but I wanted so bad to ride the bus in first grade, I think, and we were going to the Hershey factory, and I was like, Dad, I was crying. I was like, I want to ride with Haley and Gracie, please. And he was like, Kennedy, you're not getting on that bus. And I was just freaking out. And then he was like, you can ask them if they can ride with us, and I'll ride behind. And I was like, okay. And I went and asked their parents, and they let us ride. So it wasn't all bad, Dad. He made up for it in little ways like that. But, yeah, it was intense growing up. But I think now, seeing how much is going on in culture, it protected us in so many ways, So I'm very thankful, even though it drove me crazy as a child. So second to last question, what are you learning about God's character in this season of your life?
That is perfect. His character is perfect and dependable. As a matter of fact, if I just keep it $2, not even $1.50, as I normally say. A. Lewis Patterson would say, God is the only one I know who can take a crooked stick and hit a straight lick. Y'all have heard me close on that. He's the only one I know who can stand flat-footed and tiptoe at the same time. God's character is flawless. The only one, by the way, whose character is flawless.
That's really good. Okay, so this is kind of like a two-part question, but you're 60, you've been pastoring for 35 years this year, which is insane, longer than I've been alive, and by 10 years. And the church has been 36, what is it, 36 years?
The church
is always
age?
1 year older, right?
No, the church was started, and I was installed 3 months after.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, you're celebrating 35 years of pastoring this year. That's major. We were just talking to Pastor Mike, and he's older than you, but has less years. And you don't hear that anymore. Like pastors still pastoring after 35 years. You've been successful in marriage, in having kids, all that stuff, in friendship, in life. You really have led a very successful life. So, what are you most proud of? And what are you most proud of? And also, what's your most rewarding accomplishment that you've kind of?
Well, let me just say I'm shocked and appreciative of what you just said at the end. Okay, so ask me that question again, the last part. Yeah.
That was him trying to figure out what I said. Okay, what are you most proud of, and what's your most rewarding accomplishment? Ministry, life.
Okay, yeah, I was
you can break
making
it up.
that. Okay, so I think I'm most proud, of course, of being a follower of Christ. It's crazy difficult, and I know it's going to become more difficult because we live in a crazy world now. And everything now is polarized. Everything is Republican, Democrat, black, white. It's ridiculous. It's sinful. It's Satan. It's division. It's the devil. But I'm proud of knowing Christ, not a culture or a commitment or a color, but Christ. Let me balance that by saying I realize I'm African American. I am pro-Africa. I'm pro-humanity. I'm against racism, as all of us, I trust, are. People ask me a lot of questions about Jesus. Now, his ethnicity, there's no question that Jesus was brown and are black. There's no question about that. You don't have to, that's a scientific question. There's no question about it. There's no question about, again, Israel being, in Africa and that continent and all that kind of stuff, the disciples, all that. There's no question about that. We know through history that people have tried to rewrite historical or history books to make it lean in the direction they wanted to lean in, but that's not the case. So what am I most proud of in culture, in life, ministry? So I think I said knowing Christ, and I'm proud of daughters. Guys are magnificent. I really mean that. I mean, this is no extra high character women, young ladies, know the Lord, crazy, smart, and intelligent, intuitive. You guys do things that I could never dream of doing. And I really mean that. I really mean that. You're at a high bar. You pass me where I am now in terms of things of that nature. And I am utterly amazed and blessed by you. I really am. I'm glad to be a girl dad. I'm glad to be a girl dad. I'm really glad to be a girl dad. So, yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, that was really good. But, yeah, we just wanted to take this time to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
I think you answered them all. You did a fantastic job.
Okay. All right.
Yes. And yeah, this is probably the last time we'll ever do this.
Literally.
But yeah, thank you all for coming. Is there any questions from the audience that anyone would like to ask?
Okay, we got time. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
as our apostle. We are your disciples as our apostle, right? Do you fully realize the impact that you have on our lives? Not just Dawn's life, but everyone Dawn loves, everyone Dawn reaches, everyone she meets, their families, everyone that I've helped throughout my life, their families, their friends, their employment, because it doesn't, I don't believe it trickles down. I believe it trickles out.
Well,
Do you fully realize that? And I want to thank you for being a vessel of God, because he chose you, yes, but you also said yes to him.
Dr. Don Schwarry, thank you for that question. The answer in a word is no. I don't think that we realize our impact until we are at the feet of Jesus. And he issues out what the King James Version would call in the book of the Revelation rewards. But I think that God gives us encouragement with people in our lives like the people in this congregation. So I don't think I realize it fully. No, but I'm grateful that God has allowed me to be used to some degree. And thankful for what God has allowed you and I to do just last week in working on some things. And so I'm grateful to God for that. Yeah.
Pastor.
Yes, sir. There you go. Yes, Chairman.
I was just wanting to ask, with what you went through in the beginning, don't you think that there's a need that you needed to go through that to be who you are today?
Mm.
You know what I mean? I think that helped you be who you are today.
Yeah. I agree. Hold on one second. Clarify for me which part in the beginning.
I'm speaking of what Kennedy was just saying that you guys went through in your home life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that all of those events helped shape me into who I am today, Chairman Ely. Man, I'm grateful to God for that. So I wouldn't be who I am today, I think, as part of your point, without having gone through that. Let me say this, though. I wish some of those things I didn't go through. Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Amen.
I was just going to say, coming from a large family, that's probably why we can relate to some of the things that, I can just relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So many different personalities you're growing up with. And it's just so many avenues that, take toss and turns when you're growing up in such a large family. And I think that's why I understand you. Some people are just like, well, Pastor Ford, he has so many things he wants to do. I'm like, that's because he comes from so much. And it's just amazing how I can just connect with you and say, okay, we're going to turn this way. We're going to do this. And if it don't work out, we're just going to keep going forward. And so, that's why I say I understand you. And I'm grateful that we are brother and sister in Christ like that.
2 more questions.
Good morning. First, I want to say thank you for your service. We always tell the vets thank you for their service, but I believe we should tell ministers thank you for your service. What are the top 3 things that you think your members can do to support you?
Such a good question.
Good question.
Round of applause.
Let me just say we could have started there this morning.
Great question.
And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, so thank you for that. Let me say this, something I really need to keep communicating. I'm at a place now in life, and particularly in church life, where our church is in need of a radical, immediate 911, help me with synonyms that fit that, change and shift in the way that we do what we do. So we have the structure, relationship, worship, fellowship, service, discipleship. We know all of those things. What I lack And what the church can do for me is 1, pray, 2, partner, and 3, participate in giving. So pray, partner, participate in giving. And so I announced some weeks ago that I'm getting ready to do something that's going to be unique. I'm gonna hire a church administrator, because if people say, Pastor, you always do what you do, that's why people don't do it. No, I do what I do because people don't do it. That's why I do it, not because any of that. And so there are often times where I say, I'm just gonna not do anything and see what happens. And what happens is what happens every single time. So people don't do what you expect, they do what you inspect. And then people do what you invest. So what I'm going to do is hire an administrator. And I'm going to commit to connecting with that person. And then they'll do the other connections for me. My daughter told me the other day, you need to change your number. Y'all know I was in Houston, lost my phone. Didn't have it for a number of days, and I got it back on Monday. And it was some of the most peaceful days of my life, And so I need to balance better. So I'm saying that I'm equally guilty, but I'm saying that there's no way I can live. I can't physically live. I can't physically continue being alive biologically, doing what I do. And so, and that's on Pastor Sherman Ford. But I've learned that behavior from people who say they're going to do and don't. And so volunteerism is good. Compensation is better.
That was a bar.
A long answer. I apologize for that, but long
that was
answer.
really good.
All right, we're going to take one more.
Yeah, one more before we close out.
My question to you would be, within your walk and in your 60 years of existing, what has been your most pivotal moment in your life? What is the most memorable thing that you have held on to and held near and dear to your heart?
Besides my birth.
Thanks for breaking that up, because that's a crazy question, Nisi. In part, my mind, I don't know if this is true for you all, I'll be done here. Most pivotal, I have a propensity and a proclivity to look at or think first of the bad decisions. So I'm going to leapfrog that. And I would say the most pivotal would probably be, I just need to be closer to the Lord. And I know that sounds rote, R-O-T-E. I need to be closer to him so I can lead his people right. I see people coming in for worship. I know we're going to conclude. I want to thank Ken, you, and you, and you all close however you want to.
You want to pray?
Okay, y'all, we're going to pray together, ask God to bless us. Let's talk to the Lord. Father, how we thank you afresh for this day. Thank you for Amory and for Kennedy leading us in this impromptu discussion, but yet one of discovery. Would you bless this church even more, and this preacher pastor even more, and these daughters and grandson and family and friends who are not here physically,